Good morning. I'm joined today by the infamous Peter Jackson. Not that one.
Without the sir.
We're going to make a beef stew and some beautiful dumplings.
My wife says that I don't know how to cook stews. She says they're tasteless. I'm come to learn.
Okay, so basic ingredients. We've got some onions, carrots, garlic, leeks, celery, dried mushrooms, some tomato paste, some red wine, the one you don't want to drink, some beef, and then for the dumplings I'll go through that a little bit later. You can take the capsicum because Peter really likes capsicum.
They should never have been invented. So that is the vegetable that the police make their pepper spray out of. Why would you eat it?
As always, prepare all your vegetables before, make the mess before you start cooking. Yeah, and let's not do the old way of doing it where the husband says that they're going to cook and the wife has to cut all the ingredients, lay it out on the table, and he arrives with a pot and he puts it all on and he said he's cooked and he doesn't have to do the dishes. All right, Peter, you do the leek, split it down the middle, and then hack it up. All right, when you're doing leeks, make sure that there's no brown stuff. If there's brown stuff, clean it up. Onions chopped.
The leeks are chopped.
Celery chopped. You'll notice that I've chopped up the leaves. Use the leaves, they're good flavour.
Now, Chef, I noticed that you always push the knife away from you when you're cutting. That's the complete opposite to what I've ever done. Why is that?
First of all, I work for a living. I'm not a chef, I'm a fucking cook.
Yes, Chef.
Because it's, we always learn safety first in the kitchen. So try to push it away from you. Is taking it away, is not bringing it towards your body. It's a safety. Carrots peeled and chopped.
Yes, this is Daisy. She's well diced and we'll appreciate her.
Garlic chopped. Okay, now Peter, in answer to your flavor question. All right, now whilst we're talking, I'm going to just add a smidgen of oil. And yes, Peter, that's a smidgen. That's a smidgen more than you would use.
Or me.
And I'm going to add all my ingredients other than my garlic. What I want to do is I want to take advantage of all flavor profiles of the product. And the only way to do this, and I've said this in previous videos, and I say to you, onion or sugar is just sweet. Caramel is sweet and beautiful. Alright, so when I'm making caramel, I'm caramelizing the sugars, browning it, and it enhances the flavor. And you do the same thing with vegetables. Brown.
So David, why do you use oil? Traditionally, in my lifetime, right from when I was a child, we used butter.
Oil has a higher flash point, butter will burn. Okay, so you want to caramelize, you don't want to burn. You can, however, use drippings like lard that will also do the job fine. All right.
So does it have a higher melting?
Yes, it doesn't burn as quickly as butter. You know, butter, you've got all the milk solids. The milk solids burn way before anything is brown enough. So you'll see the pot is about that high. When it is 1/3 of that height, it'll be ready to add the meat.
Right. So David, what's the difference between the stew and the casserole, or is it the same thing with a different name?
It's exactly the same. You know, stew, casserole, fricassee, Eintopf in German, Schmork in South Africa. They're all exactly the same thing. It's a one pot.
Everything in together.
Everything in together. You know, I've got a feeling you were making a boiler, throwing everything in the pot, throwing some water, boiling the shit out of it.
That is correct. And if it was too watery at the end, I just put some flour in to thicken it up.
So you were cooking.
It was good.
You were cooking like an Englishman.
Probably.
Okay, now add your garlic. I always add the garlic later because if you add the garlic too early, the garlic has a lot of sugar, it burns. That burns the garlic flavor. And that just needs to basically open up. Then to help the browning, I want a nice tomatoey base. I add some tomato paste. You can add as little or as much as you want. Depends on how tomatoey you want it. Nice and reduced, it's almost pasty. Add your beef, add Daisy, give it a stir, Peter. Alright, now every now and then you're going to have to come back and stir it Your aim is to get your beans starting to stick at the bottom of the pan. That's where your flavor in the stew, just to give it some green and some crunch and some veggie. So beans come in a bag like that. This is what I do. I make sure that all the base is on the over there. I then just trim it off there. Recycle, compost. Then I turn it around here and I make sure all the tops are the other side. Knock it down and take it there. I don't have time to sit one by one and cleaning all my beans. And there's my beans cleaned. Take out all the ugly bits. Okay, now here's your roasting bits. You see there, that dark thing sticking to the pan? At this stage, just add a little bit of wine and deglaze or clean the bottom of the pot with the wine. Just adding some.
David, when you add the wine, is it nicer if you put in nice wine or just any old wine?
You know what? I don't do flavor hue, but it does taste nice when it's going there. So, wine added, add some water just to cover the top of that. It'll start boiling up. And add a couple of fresh bay leaves. Using dry, add a little bit more. When you're using fresh, add a little bit less.
So David, I just noticed you're putting in all that water, but you've just boiled it all out deliberately beforehand. So,
Yeah.
so why not put a lid on and just boil it like I normally do a stew?
Yeah, that's why you don't have flavorful stews, Peter. A fight between heat and cold, getting the flavors together. You want the sticking at the bottom. Just remember the roast, just remember sugar and caramel. The sticky brown bits on the side, those are the flavor. Now you want to get that flavor in. The only way to do that is get rid of the moisture so that you can get the flavor and then add the moisture back. Kind of weird, huh?
Oh, that's weird.
Okay, I dehydrated some of the beautiful field mushrooms that we have on the farm because I just had too much and I didn't know what to do with them. Now, dried mushrooms have beautiful flavor. I'm just going to use a very little inside there and I'm going to put them in dry like that with the water. Just dump them in. I'll put my beans just before we serve, so I don't like overcooked beans. This will just give more flavor, Peter. You're talking about flavor. I want to add some pepper in it. So I'll put the pepper in now, let it boil and open up. Not too much, or it's become too spicy. All right, pot lid on and drop the temperature. So it just simmers and tenderizes the meat. Try and season your salt essentially just before you serve.
There's no salt in.
There's no salt in, so just.
Ow, that's hot!
No, it's not.
Just tastes like tomato paste.
Really? Right, now, whilst that is simmering away, we're going to need to make our dumplings. I use flour and baking powder, use some self-raising baking powder, about 500 grams, and about 100 grams of butter. Add some salt.
So basically,
A little
is it
bit
a
for your mother.
scone? So basically, it's a scone mixture.
Yeah, pretty much, but with water. And I'm going to put some herbs in there as well. Get your hands dirty, Peter. Start crumbling that together. I've chopped up I'm using thyme today. Use whatever herb you want, or don't use herbs. It's up to you. Some thyme, some salt.
You
A
already
little bit
added
more
salt.
for grandma, for your mother. Keep mixing, Peter.
So I didn't do a good enough job, David.
I'm just checking up on you. Just checking that it's right. It comes together and it breaks up. All right, now I'm going to add a little bit of water. Put your hands in, Peter. Come on.
Is that so I get them muddy?
Yeah, make it muddy.
Hey David, it's wet enough.
No, it needs a little bit more. Just remember, the softer your mixture, the lighter your dumplings are going to be. Some people like chewy dumplings. I like them a little bit lighter. So it needs to be the texture of a soft but firm dough. Does it make any sense to you, Peter?
Not yet.
All right, throw some flour on there. Turn it out. Take it off your fingers, Peter. Come on. Hurry up. Stew's new. Okay, Peter, now we must make some mountain oysters. I normally do it like that. I just cut them roughly, same size. Little.
Mountain oysters? No,
Little
you don't know what mountain oysters are if you think they're mountain oysters.
They're
They're not
balls.
even the right shape.
Yeah, normally about that shape, right?
So the dumplings are now rolled, except I've been told that some of these I haven't done very well. So we'll redo them. This is another thing that my wife said I can't do very well, and she doesn't like my dumplings.
Half an hour later, just double checking if it's tough. There is no time on this. You know, sometimes it takes half an hour, sometimes it takes 3 hours. Depends what the age of your beast, etc., etc. I'm not going to get too technical on it. Make sure it's soft and chewy enough. Just check your meat, make sure it's soft enough. Okay, now I'm feeding about 10 people. This pot doesn't have enough surface area for all the dumplings. What you don't want to do is you don't want to put the dumplings on top of each other, because then you'll just have one big slab of loaf of bread on top. I'm just separating the stew. You'll see it's quite watery at the moment, but don't worry, the dumplings will take care of that and make it into a thickish stew. Yeah. Equally dispersed. We've got some beans in there.
Noticed I counted each bean, made sure it was the same in each pot.
Now let's do the same with the dumplings. Throw the dumplings on top. Give it a bit of a shake. Make sure it's nicely coated. Pot it on. Leave it for about 10 minutes till the dumplings are cooked. Done deal. Okay. Dumplings are ready. Give it a bit of a stir. That looks amazing. Get a dish up for your wife. Get a bit of everything, Peter.
A bit of everything?
Yes. Come on, don't be stingy.
Do you want me to put some meat in too?
There's best bits for you.
Oh, thank you. Where's the rubbish bin? Now this is the real taste test. I'm hoping that my wife will say that it's not as nice as my stew, but I'm very worried she might say it's better.
Yum.
Dear.
Maria, I believe you don't like dumplings. Tell us what you think. Okay, so a stew, eintopf, schmur, a casserole, all of those things, pretty much that's what it is. Good farm stuff.